Tonight's story is called Majestic, and it tells the tale of a very special flower as it cycles through life to find its true purpose. So snuggle up in bed and make yourself as comfortable as needed for a good night's sleep. When you're all settled in, close your eyes. Once upon a time, there was a beautiful, majestic tree that stood atop a mountain right at its highest peak. Its roots were so wide and so deep that the mountain itself felt stronger and at the same time protected by the tree. Every morning at sunrise, the very first beam of light cutting through the dark would hit the top of the tree like liquid gold, painting every leaf and every branch with its light. It was like a gentle morning greeting between the sun and the tree. People from the town at the foot of the mountain would often hike their way up to come rest under the tree and to cool off in its shadow. They would gaze upon the tree's greatness and witness the beauty of the world around them, all under the cooling canopy of this majestic tree. Birds would build their nests confident of the protection the tree would grant them. Squirrels made their homes inside the tree, safe and warm from the cold weather. And as the sun began to set, its golden leaves would turn to silver, glimmering in the moonlight, sparkling beneath the starry sky. One fine spring, the majestic tree blossomed into thousands of white flowers. Flowers so white that the tree itself appeared as a cloud sitting atop the mountain. Over a period of time, the multitude of flowers adorning the tree were carried off by the wind to follow their cycle of life. But one particular flower curiously remained attached to the tree. Not knowing why it had been held back, the flower looked up at its fellow sisters taking flight and pleaded for them to wait. It couldn't join them, its stem still solidly planted to the tree. It couldn't fly away. And as the cloud of flowers disappeared into the sky, this flower was left behind. Sad and alone, it slowly began to fade. As its petal began to wither and die, the flower wondered what was happening to it. Still, it remained very much attached to the branch of the majestic tree. As days went by, the flower, forever staring at the sky, kept wondering why it had been left behind. But it grew accustomed to its new shape. It accepted its new life hanging by a branch and devoid of pretty white petals. Then one day, the flower looked down upon the town below and began to notice things it had never seen before. It saw people buzzing around the town, constantly moving, just like the ants who every day traveled up and down the majestic tree. The flower noticed how much people enjoyed visiting the tree too, and coming to rest in its cooling shadow. It witnessed love when a young couple kissed for the very first time underneath the tree. And so the flower wondered, what other magnificent things could it witness from the edge of its branch? One night, the young couple who had shared a kiss under the tree returned. The young lady gently plucked off the flower stem from the branch and tucked it in her pocket. The flower became fearful of what was to come. It wondered why it had been uprooted from its home. After what had felt like an endless journey, the young couple arrived to a grassy spot. They dug a hole in the ground and ever so gently placed what was left of the flower in the hole. The flower was covered with soil, and again it found itself alone, in a dark and humid place, in complete silence, with no possible way to see the outside world. Sad and tired of fighting for its life, the flower let go of hope and once more surrendered to its fate. But then, through some kind of magic, its body began to change, and from its rounded shape void of any petals, tiny branches began to grow. The stem that had once been a flower was now piercing through the soil. It grew out of the darkness, out of the ground, and burst into daylight. It felt the splash of sun rays, and for the first time in a long time, it basked in the light it had so missed. At this very moment, just as it began to see the world once more, it understood what its purpose had been all along. The flower had become a seed, and had been planted at the top of another mountain so that it too could grow into a majestic tree. Years passed by, and the sapling grew its slender trunk wider and wider, and its roots stronger and stronger. Sky-seeking branches grew taller and taller, and golden foliage dancing in the wind by daylight turned to silver every night by moonlight. This new majestic tree overlooked another town, buzzing at the foot of another mountain. New young lovers confessed their love underneath its canopy. New families hiked up the mountain to come rest in the tree's cooling shade. The majestic tree also grew flowers of its own, and witnessed them fly away in a cloud of pristine white petals. As the cycle of life would have it, it gave many seeds to young couples to take away and plant into a new majestic tree. Often in life, we find ourselves in situations that we may not understand at first, or that may seem completely out of our control. But when we surrender to the situation and open our minds to the possibility, perhaps an opportunity for a new experience, it is precisely here, in that very moment, that we can discover our biggest potential and become better versions of ourselves. On this note, our story ends. Good night, and sweet dreams.